As the women of the old Caravan generated media attention, we have seen our work generate media attention as well. What I'd like to do now is play for you a video clip of news coverage we received in by CBC in Vancouver.
Mark Donnelly, the anthem singer for the Vancouver Canucks, has taken on a new role. He was front and center when a Calgary-based anti-abortion group began a caravan across Canada. 2 trucks covered in graphic images of fetuses are heading to Ottawa. And as Renee Filipponi reports, Donnelly's participation with the group is raising some eyebrows.
He may look familiar to you, but you probably don't recognize him without the usual background. Now the tenor is weighing in on a controversial subject, one most high-profile people shy away from: abortion.
If we can't discuss things rationally, then we're not Canadians. We've got to be able to talk.
He was on the steps of the Vancouver Art Gallery last week to help launch a cross-Canada pro-life caravan. Today, buses with graphic photos of aborted fetuses rolled through Kelowna. They are headed to Ottawa for a showdown on Parliament Hill. Donnelly has been singing for the Canucks for more than a decade. The family man has 9 children with his wife, Catherine. Reaction to his position has been mixed. On Twitter, one person writes, "What do the Canucks think of their national anthem singer associating them with the abortion debate?" And another, "I think it's time for the Vancouver Canucks to get a new anthem singer."
I think that's kind of a topic that should be left alone. I mean, it's more like a choice that other people should be able to make themselves.
He sings. We're musicians, so I kind of relate. I don't think I have any say in that kind of thing.
He's brave. Yeah, he is. I think more people should be doing that.
Donnelly did not agree to an interview today. In a statement, the Canucks say that while they support the rights of people associated with the team to voice their opinions, they add that those opinions don't necessarily reflect those of the organization. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
We could have paid for that kind of coverage. And I mean that literally, because Advertising Standards Canada has come after us even about our truck, which we have a fun time telling them they have no control over because we own the truck. But anyways, we couldn't have paid for that coverage where the images of abortion were shown. Behind Donnelly, the images of what abortion does to preborn children were put on display. They weren't blurred by the media. The images of the preborn children in their beautiful state were shown. The image of our team member who regrets her abortion was shown. The threefold message we want to get out was communicated by CBC for us by covering our project. And this is where, to use a military term, we call our projects force multipliers. And that is, we design them so that we can have the greatest amount of force we need directly with the project itself. The trucks are very large, the postcards are in your mailbox. And yet, because the projects are controversial, the media which loves controversy will come cover the controversy. And in covering the controversy, they cover the content of the controversy. And we multiply the force of the project's impact. Not only those who see it directly are impacted, but by those rather who turn on the TV or read a newspaper or go online also get exposure to that message. What I'd like to do now is share with you the impact that this new abortion caravan and the projects within it are having. You already heard some of the incredible testimonies of our team members who could share with you stories of the impact of this work. Well, when we gave a presentation just a few nights ago, someone who attended our talk brought a friend of hers who was not pro-life. At the end of the presentation, that friend says she is totally against abortion, completely. And we see this time and again when we give talks. In fact, every time we speak at high schools, we ask students to identify on a scale of 0 to 10 on a survey what their opinion was on abortion before as well as after the presentation. 0 meaning support all abortion and 10 meaning against all abortion. If you look at the first group of people, the 0 to 3s, these are the hard-to-reach individuals, the staunch abortion advocates, the kind of people that protest us and block driveways. And I would say these are very difficult to reach individuals, and yet we have seen a very impressive percentage of them shift towards the pro-life viewpoint when they've heard our presentation, as well as in the context of that talk, seen abortion exposed. 42% of them have shifted towards the pro-life perspective. Now let's look at our target audience, which are the fence sitters, the people in the middle, the individuals who may say abortion is sometimes okay, and yet sometimes not okay. A whopping 77% of these individuals have moved towards the pro-life perspective. Then there's the last group of individuals, the 8 to 9 range. These individuals are almost there, and 84% of them, after hearing our talk and seeing abortion, move towards that fully pro-life perspective. And our results aren't only quantitative, they're qualitative, as I mentioned a moment before. And another qualitative story about the impact of our presentations is regarding a talk I gave in Toronto, or the Greater Toronto area, a couple of years ago. I received an email from the school's guidance counselor in the weeks following my presentation. And he said, Stephanie, I just wanted to tell you that in the past 6 weeks, a student has come to me informing me that she's pregnant. I asked her what she intended to do, and she told me that she was going to carry through with the pregnancy. He said, after I congratulated her on her pro-life convictions, I asked her what, if anything, had influenced her to her decision. He said, she cited your presentation as helping her understand who her preborn child was so that she could not kill her baby. When I emailed him back and thanked him for sharing such encouraging news, he sent a reply by saying, what I forgot to tell you is that was the second girl to come to me in the matter of several weeks, both facing unplanned pregnancies. Both cited your presentation as convincing them not to kill their babies. Besides the presentations that we've been giving on this tour and we've given historically, we've also had, as I mentioned, our truck project. And on our trucks, there's a phone number, as you can see here, where people can call, listen to a 2-minute voicemail where we briefly explain why we're doing what we're doing. And then we invite the caller to leave a voicemail, and if they wish a call back, we will call them back and carry on the conversation. What I want to do now is play for you a brief voicemail from a man who called to complain about our trucks.
Hey, my name is Brian. I was just calling about your truck campaign because I just saw a truck while I was in traffic. And yeah, the image is actually really startling and unpleasant and, uncomfortable to look at. And I originally called to just, let you know I didn't appreciate it at all. But after listening to your message and, thinking about that during that time, I actually just want to say good job. So, I don't need to call back.
That was one voicemail we listened to on repeat. When our interns were standing on the streets with the graphic abortion signs, one day a woman pushing a baby stroller walked up towards the signs where one of our interns was standing. And the intern offered her a pamphlet and said, "What do you think about abortion?" And the woman looked at the intern and down at the baby and then said, "Well, what do you think I think?" So the intern looked down at the baby and up at the woman and said, "I'm going to go with your pro-life." And the woman said, "Yeah, funny story." She said, "When I was pregnant in my first trimester, I didn't know what I was going to do with this pregnancy." She said, "I was stuck in traffic one day and I looked out my window and next to me was a large truck with a picture of an aborted fetus the same age that my baby was." She said, "I looked at that picture and said, I cannot do that to my child." And in front of our intern was a 15-month-old girl whose mother chose life for her because she saw an image of a mother who had chosen death for her child. So we know that our projects have an impact in not only changing how people think, but changing how they behave so that they don't go ahead and have abortions. We also find our stationary exhibits where we compare abortion to the Holocaust, typically done on university campuses, also have an impact on the culture. What I'd like to do now is play for you a video clip of a student I met a few months ago when we were doing GAP on her campus, GAP being Genocide Awareness Project. And I met this student, Julie, but she had met us in terms of seeing our exhibit 3 years prior. So she was seeing it for a second time when I had met her for the first time. And this is her story.
My name is Julie. I'm 24. Here at UNF and the nursing program. I remember when y'all came here 3 years ago, you were out on the green instead, which was like the metropolis, the heart of the campus back then. But I walked by and saw these pictures and thought, you know, I was pro-choice at that time, so it made me really angry. I was one of the heavy debaters. You know, I thought, oh, if your argument must be so weak that you have to use, you know, these pictures, and I thought it was disgusting. But it followed me home, and it followed me for several days, and I went online and looked up a video of an entire abortion, and I cried until I couldn't breathe. And I changed. I changed at that moment from pro-choice to pro-life. And I know that it was because I saw these pictures. And I think what people do, why people get so upset, is because when you see a baby in pieces like that, you can't help but feel some kind of bad feeling. You feel angry or sad or disgusted or scared or guilty. But you can't escape the truth, and these pictures show the truth. There's nothing you can argue with that. So I totally support what you guys are doing. It changed my life, changed the way I think.
It followed me home. That is the power of a visual message. Once an image is in our minds, it is very difficult to get the image out. And the more we try to push it out, the more it's going to keep coming up. What's interesting about Julie's story is when she references seeing the exhibit the first time, and she says, I was angry. She was mad at us. And that reaction reminds me of the words of Arthur Schopenhauer. He said, all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. We as a pro-life movement need to take this culture of death and transform it into a culture of life. A culture where the pro-life message is accepted as being self-evident. But to get there, we're likely going to have to go through those first 2 stages of facing violent opposition or ridicule or some degree of persecution. And yet there are some in the movement who in the face of persecution will take it as a sign that they're doing something wrong and cease their behavior. Now admittedly, on the other hand, there are some who will look at persecution and instantly conclude they're doing something right, wear it as a badge of honor and press forward. And I would say you actually can't come to either conclusion until you first ask yourself a question. Why am I disliked? Why am I ridiculed? Why am I violently opposed? Why am I persecuted? And the answer to that question will determine whether you should change your behavior or stay on course. If the answer to the question, why am I persecuted, is that you are mean, selfish, unchristlike, self-righteous, then you need to change your behavior. But if the answer to the question, why am I persecuted, is you're communicating an inconvenient truth. You're communicating a message that's resonating with the public because it's convicting them of some guilt or something in their past they've yet to come to terms with, then we need to persist in communicating that message, knowing the truth sets people free. And Julie is an example of that. And that is why we have gone on this cross-country tour, to engage the culture and to expose what's going on, to provide a truth that will set the preborn free as well as our culture free. As the women of the old caravan cross the country, so have we. As they directly engage the public, so have we. As they have tried to influence the media and the politicians, so are we.